Had Casey simply walked out of her house and thrown her dead daughter into the woods? The state's case grew stronger. The duct tape, the blanket, the computer searches for chloroform, the smell in the trunk, the partying, the tattoo, the 31-day delay. Prosecutors intended to argue that Casey used chloroform to sedate Caylee, applied duct tape to suffocate her, placed her in trash bags, transported her body in the Pontiac Sunfire, discarded her in a swamp, and partied while her child decomposed. It was not just murder, it was a narrative of malice, coldness, and indifference. But Jose Baez was ready to counter. Baez had never tried a case of this magnitude. Many in the Florida legal community dismissed him as out of his depth. But he had two things working for him. 1. Charisma. 2. A fractured prosecution case. Baez began raising questions about the science. Was the chloroform analysis flawed? Did decomposition odors come from garbage, not a body? Were the cadaver dogs accurate? He built an aggressive media strategy to shape public opinion before trial. He also began crafting a narrative of trauma. Casey, he argued, was not a monster, but a survivor. A woman who had been sexually abused by her father, George Anthony. A woman who had learned to lie, to protect herself, and to disassociate from pain. According to Baez, Caylee had not been murdered. She had accidentally drowned in the family's above-ground pool on June 16, 2008. George discovered the body and, fearing legal consequences and public shame, orchestrated a cover-up. The story was stunning and largely unprovable. George denied all allegations of abuse and cover-up. Still, the defense had planted the seed of reasonable doubt. It was no longer Casey versus Caylee. It was now Casey versus the entire system, her parents, the media, law enforcement, and the state of Florida. While the defense set its strategy, the prosecution faced a dilemma. There was no cause of death. Caylee's body had decomposed too severely. There was no trauma to the bones, no chemicals left in her system. The only physical smoking gun was the duct tape. But could the state convince a jury that duct tape alone with no fingerprints, no DNA proved murder? They decided yes. In April 2010, the state announced it would pursue the death penalty. This was an escalation. Suddenly, the stakes were not just life or freedom, but life or death. The public split. Some believed Casey deserved it. Others thought the state had gone too far with a circumstantial case. One thing was certain: the trial would be massive. The process of selecting a jury began in May 2011, with a full media blackout in place. The court summoned potential jurors from Pinellas County